ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar my dear friend, this is video number 7. It starts with the description of Saguna Brahma as described in Vedas and Upanishads. When Brahma becomes conditioned by the upadhi of Maya and shrinks, as it were, because of that Maya, it is called Saguna Brahma, the conditioned Brahma. It must not, however, be forgotten that the conditioning is not real but only apparent. Maya is conceived of as Brahma's inscrutable power. In association with Maya, Brahma becomes the dynamic creator of the universe. Ramanuja describes the world bewitching Maya as a screen that hides the true nature of Lord. When the curtain of Maya is wrung down, the effulgence of Brahma seems to be dimmed. When it goes up, Brahma shines in its fullest glory. The non-dual God who spontaneously covers himself like a spider with the web produced from his Prakriti, no Prakriti, nature to be Maya, and the great God its Lord. Like the ocean, Brahma appears to us in two aspects. Nirguna Brahma is without a wave or ripple. Saguna Brahma is the ocean agitated by the wind, covered by foaming waves. The tranquil ocean is sometimes agitated. Brahma too, in a sense, inactive and quiescent sometimes, as it were, is active and turbulent. But Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma are not two realities. The sea is the same whether it is peaceful or agitated. A snake is the same whether it remains coiled up or wriggles about. Maya, as we shall presently see, has no independent reality. It inheres in Brahma as the power of Brahma. Fire's power of burning cannot be conceived of as in a sense different from fire. Maya in the Vedas. The doctrine of Maya can be traced to the Rig Veda. The word actually occurs there and denotes a kind of magic. Indra, through Maya, assumes various forms. In the Upanishadic philosophy, this concept is applied to the sphere of metaphysics and thus enlarged. Without Maya, such ideas as the unity of existence, the reality of Atman, and the unreality of the universe independent of Atma as discussed in the Upanishads become meaningless. It was, however, later Vedantists like Vyasa, Gaudapada, Sankara and Ramanuja who fully developed the doctrine and embodied it in their respective systems of thought. The Rig Veda speaks of two orders of experience. The one is that of duality or multiplicity, which is known to us in our everyday life through the sense organs. The other is that of unity or non-duality, which is direct, immediate, and intuitive. That is to say, comprehended without the instrumentality of sense organs or discursive reasoning. Multiplicity is said to be impermanent, finite, and circumscribed by a beginning and an end. It is depreciated by the Vedic seers as the source of grief, evil, and suffering. Non-duality, on the other hand, is eternal, infinite, immortal, and everlasting. It is identical with absolute reality Sat, consciousness, Chit, and bliss, Anandam. It is praised as the bestower of bliss and as the highest God. The attainment of non-duality is the goal of spiritual evolution. Whatever reality the manifold phenomena possess is empirical and illusory, Vyavaharika, but non-duality is Paramarthika, absolute and immutable. The Rig Veda identifies non-duality with reality or the first principle. The reality is one, sages call it by various names. The Chandogya Upanishad describes multiplicity as a mere matter of words, the one besides which there is no other, the one inserted into the everlasting nave in which all living beings are fixed. This entire universe is the Purusha alone, both that which was and that which endures for the future. The celebrated hymns of creation known as the Nasadya Sukta indicates that the multiple names and forms of the visible universe prior to the state of manifestation were in a state of non-duality. Then there was neither ought nor not, no air nor sky beyond, what covered all, where rested all, in watery gulf profound. Nor death was then, nor deathlessness, nor change of night and day. That one breathed calmly, self-sustained, naught else beyond it lay. Gloom hidden gloom existed first one sea, eluding view. That one a void in chaos, wrapped by inward fervor grew. The diversity of plurality that we encounter in our daily life is Maya, non-existent from the standpoint of ultimate reality. Maya in the Upanishads. The Upanishads reveal a systematic search on the part of the seers to discover the essential nature or first principle of the universe. They came to the decision that the essence of things is not given in the objects as they present themselves to our senses in space and time. The entire aggregate of experience, external and internal, shows us merely how things appear to us, not how they are in themselves. Like the Greek philosophers Parmenides and Plato, who asserted the empirical reality to be a mere show or shadow of reality, the Upanishads declare that the world is only Maya and that empirical knowledge does not give true knowledge or Vidya, but belongs to the realm of ignorance or avidya. The Upanishadic philosophers through a rigorous process of discrimination, analyzed both the individual and the universe. All that does not belong to the inalienable substance of things they considered as non-self and stripped away. The conclusion arrived at was that the great omnipresent Atma, which is greater than heaven, space, and earth, is at the same time present, small as a corn of rice, whole and undivided in man's own self. The universal self is identical with the individual self. The crux of the philosophy of Yajnavalkya, as presented in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, is the sole reality of Atma and the unreality of the universe independent of Atma. It is not for the sake of the husband, my dear, that the husband is loved, but for the sake of the self that he is loved. By the realization of the self, my dear, Through hearing, reflection, and meditation, all this world is known as the notes of a drum, a conch shell, or a lute have no existence in themselves and can be perceived only when the instrument that produces them is played. So all objects and relations in the universe are known by him who knows Atma. Atma or the self is the consciousness, the knowing subject within us. All objects and relationships in the universe exist for us and are known and loved by us only insofar as they enter into our consciousness, which comprehends in itself all the objects and relationships, knowing nothing that is absolutely alien to itself. As from a fire tiny sparks fly in all directions, so from this self emanate all the organs and all the worlds, all gods, all beings, just as all the spokes are fixed in the nave and the fellow of a chariot wheel, so are all beings, all gods and worlds, all organs and all these individual selves fixed in the self. If Atma, the knowing subject in us, is the only reality, there can be no universe outside consciousness. Therefore, the duality perceived in the universe, independent of Atma, is Maya. This idea is reiterated in the Upanishads again and again. A well-known prayer in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad begs the Lord to lead the devotee from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. What is referred to here is unreality, darkness, and death is duality, which is Maya. Non-duality, Atma alone is reality, light, and immortality. The Isha Upanishad states that the doer of the truth is veiled with a golden disc. This veil must be removed that the seeker may behold the truth. The figure of a veil or a curtain has often been used by Vedantic philosophers to describe Maya, but it must be understood that Brahma or Atma is not to be sought on the other side of Maya. For there is no such thing as space beyond the sphere of Maya, for there is no such thing as space beyond the sphere of Maya, nor is it to be realized after the veil is removed, for beyond Maya there is no time, nor finally is it to be known as the cause of the universe, for Brahma is beyond the causal law. Rather, Brahma becomes real to us to the extent that the universe with its time, space, and causal principle is realized as unreal. That is to say, Brahma becomes real to the extent that we can shake off from our minds the world of appearance. The Katha Upanishad teaches that sages never find reality and certainty in the unrealities and uncertainties of the world. Yajnavalkya exhorts the seekers of Brahma to renounce the longing for children, wealth, and the heavenly world. The Mundaka Upanishad states that when Brahma is realized, the fetters of the heart are broken and all doubts are resolved. Later philosophers, it has already been stated that the doctrine of Maya was developed in the Vedanta philosophy in a systematic form by later thinkers. The implications of the doctrine have been distorted and misunderstood by its critics. Indian as well as Western. They tell us that if one accepts the concept of Maya, one must believe that the world is unreal and non existent, that life on earth is full of suffering, and that liberation consists in turning away from it, that human values are totally worthless, and that to seek happiness on earth is to pursue a will o' the wisp. Proper understanding of the philosophy of non-dualistic Vedanta depends upon the recognition of the two standpoints from which truth can be observed. The one is the relative standpoint, the other the absolute. The former regards the space and causation as actual. From this standpoint, the field of multiplicity is real. Good and evil exist, and so also pleasure and pain. The gods, heaven, and afterlife all are real. The Indo-Aryans sought celestial happiness by propitiating the deities through sacrifice, according to the directions of the Vedas. This is the truth. The sacrificial works which were revealed to the rishis in the hymns have been described in many ways in the three Vedas. Practice them, being desirous to attain their true results. This is your path leading to the fruits of your works. Admitting the empirical reality of the individual ego and the manifold universe, the Vedic seers developed an elaborate system of theology, cosmology, ethics, spiritual disciplines, and methods of worship. The division of Hindu society into four castes and of the individual life into four stages was based upon their recognition of the relative world, their knowledge, their acknowledgement of the ideals of righteousness, dharma, wealth, artha, sense pleasure, kama, and the final liberation, moksha, as worthy human pursuits, purusartha, shows that they appreciated human values and were solicitous for human happiness. Had they considered the world to be non existent or unreal, like a barren woman's son, such injunctions as they laid down for these four ends of life would have been meaningless. Nevertheless, this world is not real from the standpoint of the absolute or Brahma. For duality disappears when the absolute truth is known, and all the activities and thoughts associated with the duality of drop away. The searching of Vedanta demonstrates the ultimate reality of Brahma. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all that exists is Brahma. Non-dualists describe the creation as the illusory superimposition, adhyaropa or vivarta, through Maya of names and forms upon Brahma. They explain this subtle concept by means of various illustrations. One or two may be cited here. Karma, a hero of the Karna, a hero of the Mahabharata, was a son of Kunti, born before her marriage. In order to avoid a scandal, she put the babe in a pot and floated it down the river. The baby was picked up by a carpenter's wife named Radha and brought up by her as her own son. As a result, Karna was known to himself and others as Radha Putra, Radha's son. Many years later, his true parentage was revealed and he came to be called Kunti Putra, Kunti's son. Through ignorance, Karna was given the epithet of Radhaputra. This is a case of illusory superimposition. There is also the story of the lion cub born in a flock of sheep. It bleated, ate grass, and regarded itself in all respect as a sheep. One day it was pounced upon by a lion from the forest and dragged it to the water. And there it was shown its reflection, and a piece of meat was pressed into its mouth. Then suddenly the veil dropped off, and the sheep lion discovered itself to be a real lion. Through the power of Maya or ignorance, names and forms are attributed to Brahma, and the relative universe come into existence. Through the negation, Apavada of the illusory manifold Brahma or pure consciousness is revealed again. The true nature of Brahma is not in the least affected by the superimposition of illusory notions. Relativity is Maya. The fact that the one appears as the many, the absolute as the relative, the infinite as the finite is Maya. The doctrine of Maya recognizes the reality of multiplicity from the relative standpoint and simply states that the relationship of this relative reality with the absolute cannot be described or known. How it can be that the infinite Brahma should appear as the finite world cannot be grasped by the finite mind. The very limitation of the mind precludes a satisfactory answer to this question. In fact, there is no relationship between the one and the many, since there can be a relationship only between two existing entities. The one and the many do not exist. However, in the same sense, when a man sees the one, he does not see the many. When he sees the non-dual Brahma, he does not see the universe. When anyone seeing the manifold universe establishes a relationship of any kind between it and the non-dual Brahma, the non-dualists call that notion of relationship Maya. A mirage is Maya. So also its relationship with the desert. It is due to Maya that one sees a snake in place of a rope, water in the desert, and multiplicity in place of the non-dual Brahma. Vedantists admit that for our practical life there is a difference between illusions, dreams, and the experiences of the waking state, yet insist that from the standpoint of the absolute, they are all equally unreal. Sankara described Maya as the power of the Lord, Parame, Paramesha Shakti. It is the inscrutable power of Brahma, resting in Brahma and having no existence independent of Brahma. This is illustrated by fire and its power of burning. Maya makes possible the appearance of the manifold universe, and it endows names and forms with apparent reality. Non-dualists ascribe creation, preservation and destruction to Saguna Brahma or Brahma associated with Maya. Sadananda defines Maya as something positive, though intangible, which cannot be described either as being or as non-being, which is made of three gunas and which is antagonistic to knowledge. Maya and also is its effect. The universe have a positive existence and cannot be called unreal, like the horns of a hare. They are seen to exist from the relative standpoint, but are non-existent from the standpoint of Brahma. Maya and its manifestations disappear with the dawn of the knowledge of Brahma. Maya consists of three gunas, namely sattva, rajas, and tamas. The word guna is generally translated through, though incorrectly, as quality. Essentially, the gunas are the very substance of Maya. Everything in nature consists of these three gunas, though in varying degrees. Rajas and tamas have opposing characteristics, while sattva strikes the balance between the two. The principal trait of Rajas is energy, which is responsible for the primal flow of activity. The power of Rajas moves the universe. Tamas is lassitude, dullness, inertia, and stupidity, while sattva, which is characterized by harmony, is manifest on the human level in such spiritual virtues as tranquility, self-control, and contentment. The Upanishads mention the three gunas. The one she got, red, white, and black, cast many young ones which are fashioned like to her. The Chandogya Upanishad states that everything in the universe consists of three elements, namely heat, water, and food. There are there are present in all things, for instance, in fire, in the sun, in the moon, and in lightning, the red heat, the white water, and the black food. Sankara explains the passage thus: in this verse, by the words red, white, and black are to be understood Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas. The red is Rajas, emotion, because it naturally makes red. The white is Sattva, essentially goodness, because it naturally makes bright. The black is Tamas, darkness, because it naturally darkens. The passage, the she got cast many young ones which are fashioned like to her, means that all the effects of Maya also are constituted of three gunas. Maya functioning Maya functions in the world through its two powers, the power of concealment and the power of projection. The former, as in the case of a sleeping person, obscures the knowledge of the observer. It conceals, as it were, the true nature of Brahma. Next, the projecting power of Maya creates the universe and all the objects seen it, just as after a man's consciousness is obscured by sleep, he begins to dream. In actuality, however, the true powers of Maya function practically simultaneously. Therefore, Brahma, in association with Maya, may be called as it were the creator or projector of the universe. It is through Maya that Brahma, which is the eternal subject, becomes an object of knowledge. Maya obscures the reality of Brahma, the self in reality ever free and infinite, regards itself as finite entity, bound to the world, seeking liberation. This finite self practices spiritual disciplines such as study of scriptures, self-control, and concentration, all of which have their validity in the world of Maya, and at last realizes Brahma as its true infinite self. This means that as the veil of Maya is destroyed, the everlasting light of Brahma reveals itself. Maya, Agyana, ignorance, avidya, nescience, and prakriti, nature are practically synonymous. Maya generally signifies the cosmic illusion on account of which Brahma or pure consciousness appears as the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. It is under the influence of avidya that Atma or pure consciousness appears as the jiva or individual self. Ajnana makes the absolute appear as the relative, the one as the many. Prakriti is the stuff of matter that out of which the universe is evolved, but Vedantic writers do not always strictly maintain these distinctions. Modes of Maya. There are two ways of looking at Maya depending upon one's point of view. From the collective or cosmic point of view, Maya is one. From the individual point of view, it is many. To give an illustration, one can regard a number of trees from the collective standpoint and describe them as a wood, or one can regard a wood from the standpoint of the trees and describe it as a number of trees. Likewise, Vedantists speak of collective or cosmic Maya and of individual Maya. The cosmic Maya is associated with Isvara, Saguna Brahma, and forms his Upadhi. The individual Maya limits the Jiva or individual soul and becomes its Upadhi. Maya, both in its cosmic and in its individual aspect, hides the true nature of Brahma. Thus, it becomes the Upadhi or limiting adjuncts of Brahma. But the infinite Brahma can never be limited. Therefore, this limitation is only apparent and not real. The formless sky appears to possess sharp lines when viewed through the jagged peaks of a mountain. In association with Upadhis, Brahma appears as stones, trees, birds, animals, men, gods, the creator. When the Upadhi is discarded, the object formerly regarded as finite by the ignorant is realized as Brahma. Brahma, that is to say, Saguna Brahma, is the cause of the universe. Creation, as already explained, is the superimposition of names and forms through Maya. Therefore, Brahma, through association with Maya, appears to be endowed with such activities as creation, preservation, and destruction, and such attributes as omniscience, omnipotence, and lordship. Brahma uses Maya as the material of creation, that is to say, it creates the universe and its various objects out of Maya. Maya has no existence independent of the Lord. Therefore, from the standpoint of Maya, Brahma is the material cause of the universe, but as pure consciousness, it is the efficient cause. This causal relation is often explained by the illustration of the spider and its web. When the spider wants to weave a web, it uses the silk which belongs to it and without which it cannot weave. Therefore, the spider, as a conscious creature, is the efficient cause of the web, while from the standpoint of the silk, it is the material cause. It must be remembered, however, that no causal relationship in the usual sense of the term can exist between pure Brahma or the Absolute and the universe of names and forms. The first element to evolve from Saguna Brahma is Akasa, which is usually translated as space or sky and sometimes as ether. The creation or evolution of Akasa really means that Brahma, in association with Maya, appears as Akasa. From Akasa evolves air, Vayu. That is to say, Brahma in association with Maya, appearing as Akasa, further appears as air. From air evolves fire, Agni. From fire, water, Ap. From water, earth, Prithvi. The five elements thus evolved are not the gross elements that we see, but they are subtle, rudimentary, and unmixed. Out of these subtle elements are produced the subtle bodies of all created beings and also the gross elements. The subtle body consists of the organs of perception, the organs of action, the pranas, the mind, and the buddhi. From the gross elements is produced the gross universe with all the various physical objects contained therein. Both the totality of the subtle bodies and the gross universe are upadhis of Brahma and appear to limit it. In association with them, pure consciousness descends as it were into the realm of relativity and is known by such epithets as Hiranyagarbha and Virat. So I end this video here. Next video number 8 will start with the topic aspects of Saguna Brahma. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar my dear friends.